What's up, everyone? Back for another beer review, and today I'll be reviewing yet another beer from Brujos Brewing, and they are out of Portland, Oregon, and this is their Cuernitos, the 2025 release. So this is a double dry hopped West Coast pale ale that comes in at 5% alcohol by volume, 50 IBUs at the time of review. This can is just under 6 weeks old, and I picked this one up at Halftime Beverage via halftimebeverage.com. So in the description box, I'll post a link to the beer mail unboxing video I did that contains all the goodies that I grabbed, and I picked up 31 beers in total, 7 of which were from Brujos. 5 of those hop forward and 4 of them West Coast hop forward beers. And this is, I believe, the only pale ale I picked up, but it's a double dry hopped West Coast pale ale, and on their Instagram they have a little spiel here. It basically just says that it's brewed with Simcoe, Citra, and Mosaic, and it's 5% and 50-ish IBUs. On Untapped, it specifically lists the 2025 as being 45 IBUs. Doesn't matter. It does not, but it did say 50-ish IBUs on Instagram. Anyway, yeah, I'm here for it. So a nice double dry hopped West Coast pale ale. Hopefully it's delicious. That Wolfen Throne that I reviewed recently from them was absolutely fan-fucking-tastic. So I'm hoping this is much of the same. So we're going to have a nice pour here. Ooh, that's looking super light coming out of the can there. So I'm curious to see how light this looks in the glass. But coming out of the can, it looks like a Mexican-style lager or something. Jesus. A little bit of Dirty Glass Mafia. Whatever. Doesn't really matter if I have some Dirty Glass Mafia. Nah, not really. So let's hold this up to the light as you can see this. Yeah, so that's kind of how it looks in person. It has like this slightly cloudy, pretty much yellow, golden yellow color. Has about almost 3 fingers of a bright white, soap sudsy looking head. Good carbonation bubbles. We'll bust on the light here so you can see the carbonation bubbles potentially going up. I don't know if you can, but it's definitely there for sure. But yeah, I think that looks beautiful in the glass. Sure, looks like a West Coast pale ale. I'll hold it up to the light. Yeah, you can see, can make my hand out through it as far as like, you know, the clarity's not like through the roof, but you can definitely see the shadow to some degrees. Let's get a nose. Very nice. Very nice nose, but not super impactful. It is a 5% double dry hop West Coast pale ale, but it has a lot of, to me, citrus and stone fruit. Like a fruit bowl that contains oranges, mangoes, peaches, and maybe sprinkle a couple just berries of any kind on there. Blueberry, strawberry, raspberry, blackberry. Name all the berries. Has a very gentle, piney kind of floral essence as well. And the grain bill on this one, like with so many single IPAs, West Coast style that is, they're like 7 or above, and then you start getting in the double realm and then triple. Usually I get more of like white bread as opposed to anything else. In this one, I'm getting a grainy kind of like slightly biscuity kind of nose. There's definitely lemon, like a lemon zest as well. It smells good, but like not over the top. Like put it this way, for a 5% double dry hop West Coast pale ale, it's nice. Aroma's really nice. Not blowing my socks off though, but it smells good. Let's get into it. Cheers, everyone. Go back in. It's tough to, when I do reviews, you have to, as a whole, encompass everything, right? It's tough to compare this to that Wolfen Throne that was 7.3%. You're talking 2.3% bigger. It's a regular IPA. Then to compare it into like a triple or even a double, it's not fair to this beer. It's nice. It's a nice double dry hop West Coast pale ale. This could be a nice, you throw it on tap, or you release this more frequently than say something else from Brujos and have this as like your flagship like pale ale or whatever, and I think people would enjoy it. It's just very solid is what this beer is after those couple sips. And you're always going to get honest reviews from me. Very solid. Not doing anything different than a lot of other West Coast pale ales I've had in the past. The body, I'd say lower side of medium, it's 5%, that's fine. The mouthfeel, super crisp, really clean. That's one thing I've noticed about after having the Wolf and Throw It and now this. I got a couple other triple West Coast IPAs from them. This has a beautiful, just like clean finish, very crisp on the palate. It has a good level of bitterness and dryness. Very balanced is what I can say for these two so far. However, where this deviates a little bit from that Wolf and Throne and from some of the other awesome West Coast beers I've had, again, most of them been triples and doubles and things of that nature, so keep that in mind. The flavor on this one is very light and it's not super complex. It's a 5% palate. I understand. You're probably yelling at the screen. Dumbass, it's a 5% palate. I can't compare that to 10.5% triple IPA. I know. That said, even with that being said, the flavors here are not, the aroma is better than the taste. And this reminds me of that juicy pale ale from Grateful Dead juicy pale ale from Dogfish Head. Now, settle down. I know this is Brew Host. They're super hyped in. This is what a lot of people on the secondary and all that stuff. And Dogfish Head's a commercial grocery store beer. I get that, but I would say that beer from Dogfish Head isn't too far removed from something like this in terms of the enjoyability I'm getting out of this. And we're just being honest here. So right up front, I get that grainy, kind of biscuity, a little bit of white bread, definitely a malt presence. Dives underneath the palate. Now with palates, a lot of times it's along for the ride, and with this one it is. I pretty much taste the malt throughout, but it's very light, very subtle, but it's there. This is big on the citrus. There's a ton to me of there's a nice lemony kind of zestiness. There's like an orange pith, even a little bit of like a white ruby red grapefruit, or a white grapefruit, not ruby red. So there's a lot of citrus character from front to back. It's juicy, it's pithy, it's rindy. Middle of the palate, I get a little bit of like a stone fruit, more of the peach mango side of things. And then the tropical fruit characteristic I am getting is a touch of like a pineapple. And then I get a very, very slight touch of like a red berry. Very subtle. Now, look at the glass lacing. What does that mean? Some people say it's a sign of a quality beer. Others say it doesn't mean anything. To me, I like it. It's cool. The finish has a very dry and moderately bitter finish with floral pine kind of characteristic. Not over the top. Definitely there, though. What I'll say about this one is that it's not lost on me. This is a 5% pale ale, as I've mentioned like a half dozen times already, because I want to let you understand that I'm not comparing this whatsoever to that Wolf and Throne. I'm not. That's even just a regular West Coast IPA. It was one of the best regular West Coast IPAs I've had. It really was. This, on the other end of the spectrum, it's a good double dry hopped West Coast pale ale. I have no issues drinking it. But I've had a beer like this before plenty of times, and I didn't pay the price point I paid for a can of it. Let's just say that. So again, you always get honest reviews here. Whether you disagree or agree with me, post in the comment section. Let me know. Did you love this? Did you pick this up and just lose your shit over it? If you did, awesome. I'm happy that you love this beer, because that's why we buy beers, right? To hopefully enjoy them. That's why I picked this one up. I was like, wow, 5% double dry hop West Coast pale ale. Hopefully it's awesome. And I've had some kick-ass pale ales that are like sub 5.5%. This isn't one of them. So I think this needs a little bit more sweetness for me, which sounds crazy to say with all the reviews I've been doing recently, but this needs a little bit more sweetness because it does finish a bit too dry and bitter for a 5% beer. It's almost like there's absolutely zero residual sugar. Like there's no kind of like it's just very dry and bitter. It needs a little bit more of like a malt sweetness to kind of balance it out for me, and the complexity isn't here. So the pros of this one is I could probably drink quite a few of them. It's 5%, you can't tell. The body's nice for what it is. The mouthfeel's awesome. It's just, it lacks in complexity. It's not setting a new standard. And again, for the price I paid, I'm disappointed in the overall aspect of this beer as far as me reviewing it. But at the end of the day, all that matters is, do I enjoy this one? I think it's a very solid to good beer. I have no issues, drinking the rest of it. I'm happy I grabbed it to try. But would I revisit this one again? Would I repurchase this one again? I would not. And, this comes from someone who's given high praise to Brew Host in the, 3 or 4 beers I've reviewed to date. I think they make fantastic beer. To me, this is not a fantastic beer. but it's solid. So Brujos, their Cuernitos, I am going to, the 2025 release, I'm going to give this a, give it a 3.75 out of 5. Yeah, it's a 3.75 out of 5. It's a very solid beer. Don't let that be lost. That I'm not saying this is bad. I'm not saying it. I'm just saying it's a very solid beer. I always hate when I don't really thoroughly enjoy beers because I feel like I just apologize throughout the review or I try to justify my stance. And some of you are probably screaming at the screen going, Joe, don't do that. Just, give your opinion, whatever. And I get it. I do. I truly do. But at the same time, I just want people to know that, like, I try not to let the hype of a brewery influence me. And I gave that Grateful Dead Juicy Pale Ale from Dogfish at a 3.85. I think I enjoy that one better than this. And that might blow some of your minds and you might be like, all right, unsubscribing. Fuck this guy. He doesn't know anything. I don't. I'm just one dude, my opinion. But I'm honest with you. And if I'm not honest with the reviews, then what the fuck is the point of having a beer reviewing channel? There isn't any. So anyway, price point, $8.49 for that can. Would I pay that again? Fuck no. Would I pay half of that? Fuck no. Would I pay $3 for that can? Probably. But listen, it's halftime beverage. They're always more expensive. You can't get Brujos stuff typically outside of their brewery. So the fact they got a drop, I was like, I got to try everything. And I pretty much bought everything. They had 7 beers available when I went to the site. I grabbed one of each. I don't regret it. But at the same time, this is one I would not revisit for that price point. If I could get it for cost, let's say it's $16 4-pack at the brewery, I might pay $4 to try it again, just to see. Maybe my palate's off today, whatever the case may be. But this is, as far as the quality, the taste, just the taste itself goes compared to some of the others I've had from them, it's a far cry. But it is a 5% double dry hop West Coast Pale Ale for the 14th time this review. Availability, Brujos, like I said, it's hard to get their stuff. Halftime Beverage had it. Usually at brewery only for the most part. You got to get them on secondary, trade for them, pay out the wazoo. I just got them easily. I clicked a couple buttons on a website and it was at my front door. So their distro is almost non-existent. So anyway, this is where I leave you. If you've had this one before, whether it was last year's release or this year's release, let me know what you thought about it. Do you enjoy it more than me? Why do you enjoy it? What makes this a good beer to you? Because clearly in this review, I have expressed to you why I'm not a huge fan of it. Lack of complexity with the flavors. I need a little bit more malt sweetness or sweetness in general to balance out that dry bitter finish. Because I love the dry bitter finishes, but that's typically in like, double IPAs and triple IPAs where there's a substantial malt sweetness to kind of balance it out to some degree. Even if it finishes dry and bitter, there's still enough malt sweetness to kind of leave me wanting. This is almost like too much. And right now, as I'm talking to you, it's still on my entire palate is just devoid of saliva. And on top of that, there's a lingering bitterness and there's nothing to combat that. And I think that's kind of the issue I'm having with this one. It's a little bit too heavy-handed with the bitterness, and the hop saturation on this one, as far as like the intensity of flavors, just isn't here. But again, 5% beer, I get it. So anyway, that was an excessively long review on a double dry hop West Coast Pale Ale. Post in the comment section if you've had this one before, what you think about it, and why I'm wrong, because I usually am. Also, 5%, no warming in the chest, nothing on the palate. It's 5%. You don't expect that. So appreciate everybody stopping by for another beer review here on the Beer Patrol. The next one I'm reviewing from them is their Thou, which is a huge West Coast triple IPA. I'm probably going to like that. Why? Because it's fucking 10+%. It should be flavorful. I'm not comparing the two. Just keep that in mind. It's a little bit of letdown, is what it is. To the next one. Cheers.